Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my film camera, the Canon AE1. I didn't properly introduce it in the video I made last week. I'm just going to tell you my favorite things about it, my likes and dislikes, why I got it, and go from there really. I bought this camera because it's a great way to get introduced into the world of film photography. I dabbled a lot with digital photography and found myself to get a bit burnt out taking a lot of photos on digital because it was constantly just shooting and checking what I had got and not really slowing down and enjoying the process of it. Film really forces you to slow down and focus on the three main parts of photo taking, which is shutter speed, ISO, and aperture. Being that this is a fully manual camera, I'm forced to slow down, make sure composition is right, make sure exposure is correct, and it really brought me back to why I loved taking photos in the first place. I chose the AE1 as well because I do have trust with the Canon name, being that I shoot on a Canon 80D, which is what I'm filming this on right now. The Canon AE1 also has a whole heap of information online about it, so I can learn myself on how to use it. There's a bunch of awesome lenses and parts are readily available as well. I bought this camera on eBay for I believe $250. It came with the Canon FD lens. It's a 28mm f 2.8. I believe it's taken pretty awesome photos. I can show you some of the photos I've taken on this lens in particular. My dad also bought me a 50mm Canon FD lens, which goes all the way down to f 1.8. I think these are really awesome lenses to take portraits on. One of my favorite things about this camera is the super clear viewfinder. Within it you will see a bunch of numbers on the right hand side, and depending on your settings a little needle will move up and down onto those numbers, and those numbers are telling you the aperture that you need to set your lens to properly expose your photograph. Of course, depending on the shutter speed will determine whether the needle will go up and down. Of course, if it's in the bottom, it's underexposed. If it's all the way to the top, it's overexposed. On top of the awesome light meter, there's also a plethora of lenses that can go into this, as stated before. The FD lenses are very sharp for how cheap they are, but you can get a whole bunch of different lens mounts to put on really awesome lenses. I've heard the Takuma ones are really nice for this one. Very robust and lightweight little thing, made mostly of plastic and some metal components. Strapping this around your waist and going traveling down the block anywhere, it's really unobtrusive to what you're doing. It's easy to carry along with you in that regard and continue snapping. One of the things I dislike about this camera, however, is that it's quite difficult to make sure that you are on the correct aperture when looking through the viewfinder. As stated before, when looking through the viewfinder you can see the light meter on the right hand side of the viewfinder, which is all well and good, but if you don't know what f-stop you're currently shooting on, you're gonna constantly have to take away your eye from the viewfinder to check what aperture you're on to make sure your photo is properly exposed, which can be quite annoying. So how it works, I'll start with all the functions, starting from the shutter button, which is located, of course, where your shutter button would normally be. Next to the shutter button, there's a little lever that determines three settings. One of them is the lock, so that you can't accidentally press the shutter and waste a roll or waste a photo of your film, which is really handy. The setting in the middle of it is just free fire, so I can fire whenever I'd like from, and then moving the lever up all the way pointing forward from the camera turns on the timer. Pressing this light will start flashing, and then you can go off, tee up your picture, get in your picture, and there you go, you got your timer. Underneath the film shutter, you can see the counter, which shows you how many photos you've taken so far on the roll of film that you've got. It goes all the way up to 36, which is typically the largest number of photos you can take on a roll of film. You can get rolls of film that go up to 24 rolls, and on this camera you also get a red number on number 24 to tell you that you might be close to finishing a roll of 24 photos on your roll of film. Right next to the shutter button is the shutter dial to determine your shutter speed. Canon AE1s go all the way from 1/1000th of a second to a 1 second exposure. These SLRs also have bulb mode, which will essentially have the shutter open until you let the shutter button release. So for example, if I were to press the button right now and hold it down, right now the mirror is open, and once I let it go, shutter is closed and you've taken your picture, which is really useful for if you are trying to do some night photography and you need exposures longer than 1 second. Between each shot, you need to advance the film winder, which is located on the shutter dial. On the shutter dial as well, you have the ISO ring, and to move that around, you have to hold up the shutter ring and twist it to match whatever speed film you are shooting. Moving on from that side of the camera, we'll move to the film winder. On the top of it, you've got a little lever that folds out. This lever here is what you'll spin to wind your finished roll of film, and if you pull it up like this, you will open up the film chamber on the back. Inside of the film chamber, you've got space for the canister of film. Here you will drag your film lead into the film catch here, and this is where your shutter actually advances the film. Moving on to the front of the camera again, I'll bring you to the side here. There are 3 buttons on the side of the camera here, one of which I know what the function is, which is the one in the middle here. Pressing this button and looking through the viewfinder, you will see the light meter's needle activate. This will give you a good preview of what you need to set your aperture to before you hit the shutter button. There's actually 2 of these buttons on the camera. One is on the side here, and one is right next to the film winder. So that's my Canon AE1. Really love this little camera. It's a great beginner SLR for anyone who's looking to pick up a film camera. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you learned something about the little Canon AE1. Let me know what your thoughts are on it down in the comments below. See you guys in the next video.